Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Author's Corner. Join us out here in the garden where we are going to talk about our two books that we released this year. So, if you're interested in either agile business analysis or data analytics and governance, this event is for you. So I am Aaron Whittenberger. I am an agile business analyst. I am a chapter leader for the Bluegrass IIBA. I have about five agile business analysis or agile certifications that I have gained over the last few years and everything. My book is, I'm going to try this the way Dr. Joe showed it.
There you go.
A little better. You
Yeah,
can
there you
kind
go.
of read it a little bit there. So, agile
Both is
business
about
analysis.
both of
I,
them are about agile business analysis, right?
right.
Okay.
So, this is a guide to product thinking and delivery. So, this came out this month, May of 2026. Dr. Joe's book is Igniting the Data Dance, Orchestrating Governance, Insight, and Transformation. So this came
Mhm.
out in March. So, he beat me to the marketplace.
Only by 2 months.
So we are here to just really discuss these two books, what is in them, you excuse me, and motivations for writing them, things like that. So we'll take your questions. You can interrupt us and ask in the middle. So let me bring my friend here um, on stage. Where are you? So this is Dr. Joe Perez. So he's international keynote speaker, a best-selling author. His last two or three books went to the Amazon best-selling list, including Igniting the Data Dance. So, and that sits at number four on the best-selling list. So, getting great topics there. And I understand you just added the Kindle version to that book.
Yes, sir, I did. That just came out this morning, 70% off.
70% off.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. So, um, like I said, we're here just to discuss our two books and give you insights into them and why, we wrote them and everything. So, with that, you want to take it?
Sure. Absolutely, Aaron. Well, thank you so much for your very kind introduction. I tell you what, this Agile Business Analysis, a guide to product thinking and delivery. It's a big book, you guys. It's what was the term that you used? Practitioner's handbook size, I guess. 8.5 by
Yeah.
11. Yeah. I mean, it looks like an encyclopedia, but it is marvelous, fascinating read. This thing is a masterpiece, Aaron. I am so honored and privileged that you allowed me to see an advanced copy and be able to give my endorsement of your book, which I did freely, gladly, and enthusiastically. But you mentioned the why is an important thing. We all have our whys, right? We all have excuse me, the motivations that drive us to do things, the things that we do each day. But writing a book, that's quite a bit more than just your
Yeah.
common, ordinary, everyday task. And I've just got to ask you, Aaron, why did you write this amazing masterpiece, sir? What was your motivation behind doing so?
Well, there were a few motivations behind it in that. First and foremost, this book really it really pushes back on the thought that business analysts don't belong in agile
Hmm.
and that. So I've heard that for the last 20 years,
So was I, yeah.
and I still hear it agile conferences in places. There are three organizations I know of in my area that when they decided to go agile, they transitioned a few of their business analysts to product owners and let the rest of them go.
Hmm.
They truly felt, you didn't need business analysts in an agile framework. A year or two later, they're hiring business analysts back.
Good.
And I can tell you two of them I know have rehired business analysts, realizing the importance of that and that. So the book makes the statement that business analysis or the need to do it does not disappear in the agile approach to work,
Hmm.
and that it makes it more critical. Do you have
Amen to
a
that.
question for us, Pragnia?
Yes, I think, yeah, whenever a new trend comes into the software development, like Agile came in 10 or 15 years back, you're right. They were thinking about that the business analysis role doesn't fit in the Agile world. And then people moved back from that statement, and currently, business analysts are very much part of the Agile world. But don't you see the same trend being repeated with the AI? That again, the question is coming up that the business analysts are not needed with AI because you can just use the AI to write the user stories and just I want to have your take, both of your take on this.
Well, we really aren't here to talk about AI and that. I only mentioned it a couple of times in my book. But, you know, I firmly believe that business analysis, a true professional business analyst is needed, even if you are using AI. First of all, you need a person to prompt AI.
Yes.
Secondly, I would never take the results from AI and just hand it to my stakeholders. You are not doing them any favors. It takes expertise, and that's business analysis expertise, some my experience and everything to judge the results that I'm getting from AI to say, is it appropriate? Is it accurate? Is it worthy of this? Is it complete, for my stakeholders? And, I do use AI and I've adjusted and, the results I get from AI to, better serve my stakeholders and that. So, uh, like I said, I would never just take the results from AI and hand them to my stakeholders and say, I did work. Um, so I certainly would tell all business analysis practitioners, um, first of all, don't be afraid that you're going to be replaced by AI. I don't think you will, but you may get replaced by a business analyst who knows how to use AI because,
Mic drop.
they're going to be more effective, quicker at the work. I mean, I had AI create just a simple process diagram for me once, and it did it like in 5 minutes, something that would have probably taken me an hour to do, and that. And there's more dramatic things, the harder, case, or task you give it, and so. Um, that's my feelings on AI, just like Agile. Um, the concept of business analysis doesn't belong in Agile. I think I hear a lot of the Agile purist saying that. And a lot of it comes from the Scrum Guide, um, does not
Yeah.
mention business analyst. There's only three roles: the product owner, the Scrum Master, and they call it the developers in the new
Developers.
2020
Yeah.
version. And the version before that, it was called the development team, you
Right.
know. And that is saying that um, it says the Scrum Guide says that the Agile team or the development team is cross-functional and has all the skills and develop and resources necessary to deliver the product. It does not say that every member of that development team has to know how to code. And so, they all don't have to be developers in that. And my work environment and that I have worked with a delivery team and that I call them a delivery team in my book to try to get away from that developer, anybody thinking that they all have to be developers. But when my organization went to agile, um, we kept our original roles and everything, our traditional roles, and just moved to an agile framework and that. So we did all the agile ceremonies or events, but our delivery team was made up of developers, testers. I was the lone business analyst. We had an architect on our team. Then
Mm.
we had a scrum master, and well, we called him an agilist. Um, and we had a product owner. So, I take a hard pushback on the idea that business analysts don't belong in agile. Um, Secondly, I kind of wanted to bring the standards from IIBA up to date. You will see that the basis of this book is really the Agile extension to the BABAC from the IIBA, which is 9 years old. So I felt it kind of needed updated
Mm.
and everything. So um, I offered 4 years ago I offered IIBA to help them rewrite the Agile extension. And I never heard back or anything. So I said, well, I could do it.
And you
And I
did
did. So
quite well, I might say.
So I really wanted to bring out there, and then thirdly, bring in that product thinking idea. You can find a lot of books out there on agile and even agile business analysts, but none of them think or talk about product thinking or product delivery. And so I make the case that all agile teams are built around a singular purpose to build and orchestrate a product, and
Mm.
that whether it's a product you're going to sell in the marketplace, it could be a physical structure, it could be architectural services, it could be any service in that, as well as a system, a software system for your internal or external customers. So that is why I felt it was time, it was really needed out in the marketplace. How was that for a long-winded answer?
That was a good answer. A good answer. You answered both questions, right? The why and the how, and as a matter of fact.
So I've been a little curious about your book, Dr. Joe,
Yes,
and
sir.
that. So you built that entire book around the acronym governance. A big
A long
long
one.
word.
Yeah. 10
And you
letters.
you have to put a word or to each one of those letters. Um, but you build a whole framework around that. So
Hmm.
as a former educator, how did you come up with that framework and why did it matter so much to the way you shaped this book?
Sure. Well, thank you for the question, Alex. Alex,
Alex?
Aaron,
Alex?
I got, I guess I must have
I
Jeopardy on
swear
the
he's a
brain.
friend.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll take frameworks for 20, Alex. Yeah. And he's not even around. May he rest in peace. No. Yeah, governance, long framework, 10 words. I know y'all are gonna test me on this, so I might as well get it out of my system. Oh boy. Let's see. Grit, ownership, vision, empathy, rigor, nimbleness, adaptability, narrative, clarity, and endurance. So yeah. Long word,
Hold it,
right?
hold it. Let me look it up.
Yeah, right. Indeed. So anyway, the governance framework grew out of my years in the classroom. Excuse me, pardon me, you alluded to it when you talked about me being a former educator, long before I ever stepped into IT leadership, Aaron. Um, I say when you teach, you learn quickly that people they don't really remember long lists of disconnected ideas just thrown scattergun. They remember patterns, they remember structure, they remember something that they can hold on to. They remember, well, I can't even say the word mnemonics. There you go.
Mnemonic.
That's
There
the
you go.
word. Yeah. Those words, that's always been a powerful tool for anchoring learning. And when I realized that this book needed a scaffolding, if you will, that was strong enough to support 10 chapters of these interconnected concepts. Yeah, well, the idea of building it around a single memorable word, specifically governance, and it's about governance, it made perfect sense to me. Now, I had already kind of had about 8 or 9 core principles in mind. These were ideas that had surfaced repeatedly throughout my career in state government, analytics, data storytelling, business intelligence, business analysis, you know, and when the word governance came to mind, well, it kind of felt like it was a perfect natural home for these concepts. It gave me a way to organize them, refine them, articulate them, rehash them, and add the final pieces that completed the picture. The acronym itself didn't force the content. It's the other way around. The content aligned with the acronym. And well,
Okay.
that's when I knew that I had something that would truly serve the reader. And as a matter of fact, Aaron, you, sir, are responsible for one of those 10 parts. You may or may not remember this. I mentioned this in the acknowledgments of the book on page 1 or page whatever it is. Igniting the Data Dance was actually the title of a keynote. I know you'll remember this, Aaron. I gave this
Yep.
keynote in one of the
Yep.
IIBA conferences where you would ask me to speak. And I didn't have to go to Hawaii that year. But yeah, but to be more it was actually called Mastering the Data Dance, and I changed the title of the book, but it inspired the title. But you would approach me after I spoke, and you had shared the thought, that really resonated with me. I never forgot. If I remember correctly, you said something like this. I don't know if I have the words right. Something like, "Dr. Joe, you've got to put this presentation into a book someday." Yeah, it was something like that. But yeah, you recognized the potential in the 5 cornerstones that I had discussed that day, those rhyming, racing, pacing, hasting, and those 5 eventually formed the foundation of chapter 9 of this book. And your support and that of other business analysts sparked that idea. Over time, the idea blossomed into the title that you see on the cover now. Okay, it's kind of funny that what started as a one-time presentation transformed into a broader vision, intertwining all the different themes of movement, accuracy, clarity, purpose, all these things that characterize the larger 10-part framework that I present in the book. Now, for business analysts, this most definitely matters because let's face it, frameworks are a part of our daily lives, even in the agile world. We translate complexity into clarity. We help teams to understand the why behind the what. The governance acronym gives you a way to do that with data governance. Okay, 10 movements, if you will, 10 chapters, 10 parts, 10 pillars, whatever you want to call them, cornerstones, each of them distinct, yet every one of them working together like a choreography. That's the metaphor, the data dance. It's memorable, it's livable, it's teachable, and hopefully it's actionable. And that's exactly what I wanted the book to deliver.
And it does.
Thank you, sir. So, your book delivers as well. Mine's been on sale on Amazon since March 19th. And I understand yours is going live, or maybe it's already going live. But when exactly does it go live? I think it's already gone live, hasn't it?
No, it's not yet. Um,
Okay.
I am hoping it's tomorrow. Um,
Woo.
or it'll be within a couple of days. I know inventory is on its way to Amazon.
Hmm.
I got the listing finally. It took me a couple weeks to get the listing correct and
And it
everything,
looks good.
and Amazon to actually approve it.
Hmm.
Um, so when it finally, or when it first got approved, it said the language was I'll take languages, and I had to look that up. It's like Turkish, and that. And I go, who put
Really?
that on there? So I
My
certainly
word.
didn't. And
Yeah.
I talked to I guess customer service at Amazon. They said, well, that's what was on the listing, and I go, I didn't put it there. Why in the world would I put it there? So
They
it
thought
took
Whittenberger sounded
forever.
Turkish, I guess. But no, Wittenberger doesn't sound anything like a Turkish name.
No, it doesn't.
More,
That's as
what,
German as
German
you
or,
can get.
yeah.
Um, yeah, so that was just one of the challenges I had to get this
Wow.
thing listed on Amazon. But I finally got it all. I got it switched to English. It's definitely
Good.
written in English, people.
Yeah, it
Um,
is. I
and
can
that
attest to
so
that.
297 pages. And we just looked it up, didn't we? 91,000 words.
Yep. And here they are.
And my book is 11 or by 8.5. Your book is what was a 6 by 9?
6 by 9.
Um,
Right. Or
yeah.
9 by 6, if you say it. Yeah. 9 by 6.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so mine is a practitioner's guide in that. Like I said,
It's
I
huge.
am
I love
I
this thing.
am really hoping it's going to be there. It's just Amazon's got to receive the inventory and make it available. The listing is there. It's just not for sale
Right.
because they they
They don't
don't
have
have
the.
any inventory to sell yet.
Well, my
Um,
apologies for messing up when I said I thought it was live. I do remember seeing the listing and yeah, looking at it more closely, this book not yet available.
Not yet
Yeah,
available.
right. Yeah, but at least the listing is there.
I should tell them to take pre-orders, right?
Yeah, like you can do that with Kindle, and I had wanted to do that with my third book, but you can't do that with hard copy books. You'd think that you would. I mean, that would be
Yeah,
a
why
really
not?
cool thing. I don't know. For some reason, I even went and I asked AI for in case Pragya is wondering about that. I asked that, and yeah, it's a thing. They do not take pre-orders for hard copy books.
Hmm.
So go figure.
But I don't know why that is, but it certainly would help the author.
Yes, it would, both literally and metaphorically. The author needs some help.
Okay, one of the real nice things I love about your book is that it uses stories from places as
Yeah.
diverse as many places. Gendema's Tower, the
Getty
Eiffel
Minas.
Tower.
Yeah. The
Okay.
Getty Minas
Um,
Castle, the Eiffel Tower. Yeah.
Silk Road, many of
Hmm.
them. Um, so Roman concrete and even um, the evolution of language.
Yes.
Why did you lean so heavily on metaphor and narrative to teach data governance?
Well, because I wanted to go from waterfall to agile. No, a little insider's joke for those of you who are business analysts. Now, yeah, metaphors are very useful. Story is one of the oldest learning tools that we have, Aaron. You see,
Yes, yes.
long before we had textbooks or frameworks or scaffoldings or methodologies, whatever you want to call them, we had narratives. All right. We had stories, not story points, but stories that helped us make sense of the world. As an educator, I learned that the best way to help someone move from the unknown to the known is essentially to start them off with something familiar. Okay, when you anchor a brand new concept to a story, you give the learner a bridge, not a wall, but a bridge. You give them a way to cross from uncertainty to understanding without feeling like they've been overwhelmed. Now, the metaphors in my book, you mentioned some of them. I didn't choose them at random. Okay, each one of them um, illustrates or illuminates a specific aspect of data governance. Okay, the Getty Minas Castle that you mentioned speaks of resilience and the ability to stand firm through shifting conditions. All right, you mentioned the Eiffel Tower. That illustrates the power of intentional design. The Silk Road that reveals how information flows, and that shaped entire civilizations. Roman concrete, that shows what happens when foundations are built to last. Let's see, the evolution of language demonstrates how systems adapt over time, and so on and so forth. There's a ton of them in there. Yeah. These stories and the others that folks will see in the book are like teaching tools, not decorations at all, right? They are that bridge that I'm talking about, Aaron. The bridge from the known to the unknown so that the unknown becomes known. Sounds like double talk, but it's not, right? So for business analysts, all right, metaphor might look like a storytelling device, if you will, but it's so much more than that. It's a communication strategy. Okay, think about it. You're constantly translating between business and technical worlds. That's what the BA does, right? You're constantly helping stakeholders to see what they could not see before, known to unknown, right? And when you use story to accomplish that, you create shared understanding. You make the abstract things concrete. And in a discipline like data governance, where concepts can feel somewhat heavy or intimidating, story, narrative, that becomes the key that unlocks clarity. And that's what we need in any world, whether it's the waterfall world or the agile world. We need clarity.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and your book has, oh my gosh, talk about clarity. From page one all the way to page 300 or whatever it is, 200 and not quite 300, but from the very beginning, Aaron, this is what I love about this masterpiece here, man. You start off right there at the get-go at chapter one. You make a distinction between product thinking and project thinking. Some people don't see that distinction, and really, there's not really a whole lot of books out there on agile business analysis. Well, not a whole lot on agile and business, put together, but even less those that'll talk about that and will talk about product. Now, why do you do that, Aaron? What do you have in mind with that?
Well, as I stated earlier, I make the statement in the book that agile teams are formed to around a singular purpose to
Hmm.
create or enhance a product, basically to send it through its product life cycle. That's one thing, though, the book makes that distinction that a product team stays together longer than a project team. A
Mm,
project may stay together for 6 months or a year, a couple of years during one project, and that project is only a piece of a puzzle. And the product team is usually formed and stays together for most, if not all, of that product's life cycle, which could
mhm.
be, many years, and things like that. So it's a different way of thinking, a different way of working, that you have that singular purpose, and everybody on the team is really focused on making the best product for its customers possible.
Mm. So it's like you're turning you're turning that entire thinking on its side and looking at it from a completely different perspective, and that's refreshing and refreshing and new. That I think people will find very appealing as they page through your book.
I hope they do.
Yes, sir. I know they will.
Okay. So I found that your book has a very intentional structure. That is
Mhm.
chapter goals, setting the stage section, wrap ups, study questions, and
Mhm.
endnotes. Why did you design in this way? And how does that help readers, especially business analysts, absorb the material?
Yeah. So, the structure that I used in igniting the data dance, it reflects my belief that learning doesn't have to be rigid, but it needs to be guided, not left totally to chance. Now, remember, I was an educator for 10 years. Some may not know that. 10 years, I was an educator before I got into my IT career. And that educator's mentality, that teacher's heart that I still have, that's going to inform pretty much everything I write. And with that said, every chapter, yeah, I started off with clear goals with every chapter, because readers, I believe, need to know what they're about to get. The learning objectives, the key takeaways, the bullet points, the bullet points at the beginning of every chapter. Okay. And this sets the expectations, it opens the door, frames the journey. It gives my readers a target to aim for, what I expect them to get from it. I think that's something that every BA understands, Aaron, right? Clarity of purpose drives clarity of outcome. We learn that in the Babok. Okay. So let me go through each one. All right. The setting the stage section after the goals, context matters. Before diving into the details of each chapter's tenet,
Absolutely.
in the thing, I want readers to understand how that particular pillar fits into the larger 10-part governance dance. Okay, it's kind of like giving somebody a map before you hand them a compass, right? Right? When you know where you are in the story, well, the details are going to become more, easier to absorb and apply. Okay, so at the end of the chapter, the wrap ups, the study questions, the end notes. Okay, those three things reinforce this entire learning system here. The wrap ups, they help readers consolidate what they've learned. I summarize the chapter. Study questions at the end, well, they invite reflection and application. Those are two things that I think are essential for turning knowledge into practice. The end notes, well, that's where I document my sources. Footnotes, I call them end notes. They give transparency, credibility, gives them a trail of evidence that they can explore further. Now, for BAs, this structure mirrors the way that you approach your own work. Okay, define, contextualize, analyze, reflect, validate. That works in an agile world too. My book's design reinforces and supports that rhythm, reinforces that way of thinking, and hopefully
Good.
it'll do it in a way that they'll remember.
I think they will.
Yeah, all 10, all 10 of those principles that I go through. Now, speaking of principles, looking at your book, I see that you increased IIBA's 7 principles of agile business analysis. You talked about, it's 10 years old, and you wanted to rewrite it, to bring it up to date, and so forth. Their loss. They should have commissioned you to do it, but that's okay. But it goes from 7 to 9. You didn't just add two. I don't know, but I don't know. Why did you change the principles, Aaron? What was in your head at the time? What were you thinking?
Well, I won't go into exactly what I did, but you were right. I did not just add two.
Uh,
I only added one.
ah,
I changed one of the other ones. There's one that is understand what is doable, is what IIBA called it. I changed it to understand what is feasible.
yep.
um, and that. So a slight difference there. You may be able to do it, but does that mean it's feasible? Is it cost effective? Can it be done within a reasonable amount of time and things? So feasible kind of opens the floodgates there to say it's more than just doable. It's something we can actually afford. It's something that we can get done in time, and some other aspects of that. I did add one, and the one I added is one that I found a lot of members of an agile team have difficulty working with.
Mm,
And that so I felt it had a place there that people need to embrace that that new principle, and get used to working with not as much information and everything. You get information earlier
yeah.
in the process and everything where it's more ambiguous. So I've gone over that, so I might as well tell you it's embrace um, ambiguity and change. So we're enforcing change by, even if we're just putting a new feature on a
Mm,
software system, it's going to change the way that the users use the system. And so we're enforcing it upon everybody. But, agile teams have difficulty in, if you're going to change the process or, something like that. A few members of the team may have difficult embracing that change and
hmm
embracing ambiguity. Um, when I was working as an agile business analyst, um, I worked a lot of times with not knowing as much information as I used to and everything. And I had to get used to that idea that there's a lot to discover. And I'm getting
Yeah.
in a lot sooner when the information, especially if you're working at the strategy horizon, a lot less information is known at that point. Um, so, I felt it necessary. Um,
hmm
so there's another big change to um, the seven that made it nine. Um, get the book, read it to find out what that change is.
Yeah. I know what it is, but I'm not telling. Yeah, I want people to get the book so that they could so that they'll know for themselves. So yeah, well, thank you for sharing.
Okay. So, in your chapter on rigor,
Mm,
you talked
yes.
about governance as something that strengthens trust rather than restricts it. How do you see rigor playing out in day-to-day work of business
hmm
analysts?
Rigor does not have to be rigor mortis, right? When you got too much structure and you've got too much rigidity, you have no flexibility, right? A bar of steel that isn't flexible gets brittle. And when it gets brittle, it'll break rather than flex. But there still needs to be some rigor. And let me explain because rigor is often misunderstood as rigidity. It is not. Okay. In the context of data governance, I see it as just the opposite. Look, rigor is about intentionality. That is, making sure that decisions are grounded in truth, processes are repeatable, outcomes are dependable. For business analysts, rigor is going to show up in the way that you validate requirements, trace decisions, handle scope creep. Even in an agile world, there's going to be scope creep, right? Ensure that what's being built lines up what the organization actually needs. Okay, it's the discipline that keeps teams honest, aligned, on track. And in the book, I describe rigor as a stabilizing force. It's a thing that allows organizations to move confidently. Why? Because they know their data can be trusted. BAs play a critical role in that trust building process, Aaron. They're the ones who ask those clarifying questions, challenge assumptions, make the decisions, and ensure that the information that's flowing through the organization is accurate and meaningful. Without rigor, well, quite frankly, governance turns into guesswork. And nobody wants that, right? You don't want to go
Mm,
around on
right.
assumptions. Exactly. Rigor also empowers creativity, right? When you know that the foundation is solid, you know what that does? That frees you up to innovate without being afraid of everything collapsing, right? BAs thrive in environments where structure supports exploration rather than stifling it. Maybe that's what part of the problem was with the agile, not excuse me, with the waterfall mentality. It is way too structured, right? This is why rigor is in the first half of the governance framework. Okay. Okay, well, it kind of already helps that the R in the governance is already in the middle of the word. Okay.
Yes.
But seriously, rigor sets the tone for everything that follows. All right. It gives teams the confidence that they need to keep moving forward with clarity, with purpose. And that's what we need today. Um,
Okay.
yeah,
And
I
I
mean,
I have been wanting to kind of say this, and I keep forgetting
uh
to state this, something I should have stated in the very beginning, but I am so impressed by you and your schedule and everything. Like I said in the beginning, international keynote speaker. When we were trying to schedule this, it was last week or 2 weeks
yeah,
ago. I don't even remember what country you were in,
yeah,
that you couldn't be here. I know you've been in
right.
3 or 4 countries already. Um, this year, and I see all your posts out there on LinkedIn. Where was that? You were at an airport conference. Um,
Oh
things
yeah,
like
that was in
that.
Amsterdam. The conference was
Amsterdam, that's
yeah,
right.
the conference
And
was at a
so
hotel that was right there at the airport. Crazy.
so not only all of that international travel and everything, but your last two, or is it just two, or the last three books have gone best-selling? Um,
Just the last two.
just the last two,
The
but
first
it's
and the second one were number one new releases, but neither of those two made it into the bestseller or the top. Everyone's a bestseller, okay, but the ones that count is if you're in the top 100, that's when you get on the list, okay? And
ah,
I never
I'm
quite
I'm
made it, yeah.
I'm going for that list.
There you go. There you go. The third one was the first one. It did not make number one. It made number nine as a new release, and it made it up to 51, number 51 on the bestseller
Okay.
list. And then this one, as you so graciously and kindly pointed out, made it up to number four. So yeah, two of them are
And
bestseller.
you know, um, and on top of all of that, you hold down a full-time job there in North Carolina, state
Hence the
government.
bags. Yeah, bags under my eyes.
So, that is so impressive and everything to, hold down, a full-time job and do all these extra activities. I'll tell you that I took a lot of vacation these last couple of months and everything, and I would take the Friday and the following Monday off to have
Yeah.
a 4-day weekend, and it was fully to concentrate on getting this book done and
Yes.
everything. So, and it worked, but, just holding down the 40 hours a job, 40 hours a week job, and that I had to take some time off just to write the book and everything.
Mm.
So to see you travel the way you do and do your keynote speeches, which it takes time to develop those, um,
Yes, it
as
does.
well as write 4 books.
Well, you got to remember
Um,
that that was over a period of time. I didn't write them all at the
yeah,
same,
yeah, sure, understood.
but
Yep.
still, yeah, I've been extremely busy, and I've already got two more books lined up.
Listen to you.
Yeah, well, they're not written yet. At least ideas for them, anyway. Ideas and outlines and
They're
chapter
swimming
titles.
around in the head.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, yeah, and hopefully, I don't know. It's sometimes I feel like I need a big team around me, that specialize in different things to try to push me over the across the finish line. But somehow I've made it by the grace of God. So thank you so much. Thank you for your kind words, Aaron. I'm not going to call you Alex again because I'm not on Jeopardy. Um, but
Yeah, I have
speaking,
no prizes for you.
yeah, oh, rats. No, yes, you do have a prize. The prize is that I got to read your book, I got to endorse your book, and I got to be on your program. That to me is a wonderful prize, sir. So, but I've been meaning to ask you, your book makes a strong case that, and you alluded to it earlier when you were answering the question that not everybody on the team, whether it's the development team, the product delivery team, or any other team, they don't all need to know how to code. You make a case for that,
Absolutely.
right? And you make a strong statement that I forget exactly where you said it, but that specialists in business analysis and testing need to be part of that team, not just the ones who code. I agree with you 100%, but I'd like to get your take on that, Aaron. Why exactly do you feel this way?
So, quite simply, I feel this way thinking that if you have specialists that really take to heart, creating clarity, which is and
Mhm.
shared understanding among the team, which is business analysis. And you have,
Yeah.
professional testers who think about edge cases. What can go wrong? Is this complete? That kind of mental um, framework and that they operate from. That team makes better products that serve their customers better than
Hmm.
if you had a team full of generalists, where everybody can code and nobody
Right.
really owns the analysis and testing is thought of as an afterthought instead of an integral part of the process. Um, so, the book makes a very strong case for that. And I firmly believe I've lived that process.
Mm.
Like I said, when my organization went agile, we decided to go agile. We used the Scrum framework and then we scaled that. But we kept our traditional roles and everything. So I was the business analyst on an agile team. I have been for 3 years now. And, I
Yeah.
support the entire team, but I work very closely with the product owner, where she's the decision maker. I give her the information to inform those decisions. And we work together to discover the unknown. Um, and what you were saying earlier about the bridge, the unknown
Right.
become the known, that's learning. Um,
Yes, indeed.
so, and all agile teams go through that. So, but as well as, any team that's building a product or anything. So, but that's something I firmly believe in that you do need um, truly dedicated, somebody who's got the really how do you say? I don't want to say superior, but really great skills in business analyst
Yes.
and skills in testing who think of it before they think of coding and
Mm.
everything. So I think if your team has that, and like I said earlier, we had an architect on our team. Um, so, somebody who ensures that when you build this, or if you're changing the way data is passed downstream, what is the impact downstream? And making sure that your systems continue to talk to each other, things like that. That's architecture. Um,
Hmm.
so having those, professional skills, somebody with deep understanding in those skills, help build better products.
They do indeed. And the the mentality is one way, and yet when you introduce this idea, I don't know, to me it's a revolutionary but logical concept. It's like you're changing the narrative is what you're doing. And letting people see things differently. That's one of the things that I love about your masterpiece here. So thank you for sharing.
All
Change the narrative, man. That's what it's all about.
right. So, I never really stated that you're not a practicing business analyst. I believe you've been or currently a CIO, but you're an IT professional. You work with business analysts and that, but haven't you practiced business analysis yourself and that. But you are an IT professional, so that you have that technology background that I have and everything.
Mhm.
So. I did want to let our audience know that. Um, and certainly, the data um, governance, the data analytics that all four of your books are on, and you've won many awards, top thought leader in data analytics. Um, and I remember the 1 year, was it last year or 2 years ago, you were on a um, billboard sign, not billboard sign, but the
Yeah.
electronic sign over Times Square.
Yeah, time was
I
on a
saw
Times Square. Yeah, three different times, as a matter of fact, on Times
Oh,
Square
really?
billboard. Yeah, yes, sir.
All right, excellent. So, let's talk about your chapter on narrative.
Okay.
Um, it emphasizes the importance of turning governed data into stories that
Hmm.
inspire action. How can business analysts use narrative to influence decision and drive alignment?
Hmm. Wow, I like that. You know, I see narrative as being one of the most powerful tools that a BA can wield, Aaron. Um, data alone, that rarely moves people, right? It's the story behind the data that creates
Okay.
momentum. We alluded to that earlier. When you frame insights in a way that resonates with your stakeholders, when you connect the numbers to the mission, the theme, the people, the outcomes, and so forth, um, when you do that, you create alignment. Okay. And it's a thing that spreadsheets alone could never achieve.
Right.
Narrative gives data a voice. Now, in my book, I talk about narrative, and I talk about it as the heart of strategic insight. It's a thing that transforms information into influence, right? I see BAs as being uniquely positioned to, I don't know, craft these narratives, if you will, the intersection of business need and technical capability meshing together. You understand the why behind the what, as we said before, and the what behind the why too, right? And that unique perspective that a BA can do in flipping things around like that enable people to shift narratives, flip narratives that can drive the decision. Ann Watson, I think she's an author. I think she said, narratives shows us what we already knew and forgot and reminds us of what we haven't yet imagined. Something like that. Um, yeah. But with that being said, narrative also builds trust. Okay. When stakeholders see that, I don't know, rather than simply just presenting the data, here you go. No, you're interpreting it with integrity and clarity. They are more likely to engage, collaborate, follow, and commit. And that's probably why I don't know, we're talking about narrative again a little bit, but this time focusing more on it than earlier when we talked about the metaphors and the stories, because look, narrative is where everything comes together. It gives a voice to the story, right? It gives clarity and meaning to that metaphor we talked about, and makes I don't know, makes information become action. That's how I see it.
Hmm. Sorry, I just had a flashback to
Yeah.
from numbers to narratives that transformed business.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, that was oh man, yeah, that was book number 5. Yep. Yeah, what am I saying? Book number 3.
Five?
Yeah, no, but book number 5 will come probably sometime in 2027. So yeah, we'll see how
Okay.
that goes.
All
Um
right.
yeah, you got to get in the right, or I got to get into the right mindset before I dive more deeply into my next book. So, but I'll keep mum's the word on that for now. We'll we can talk more about that later. Speaking of mindset, oh my gosh, one of my favorite things. I really, really like the three mindsets that you present, on the agile product team. And you call them the three amigos, you emphasize this, I think it was in chapter 2. Why did you
Yes.
feel that it was important for you to do that, amigo?
Um, I felt it was important because I've seen it, I've lived it, and I think it's an important thing that you have those three mindsets. And for those, nobody's got the book yet except the five people that have reviewed it, seen the advanced copy. As well, another friend of mine is Patricia Carlin, um, who is also a fellow chapter leader at the Bluegrass IIBA chapter. Um, but I gave her an advance copy. Um, anyway, um, but the three mindsets that we're talking about is the analyst mindset, the developer mindset, and the tester mindset. So coming back to that, keep your traditional roles on the agile delivery team.
Yes.
Again, calling it a delivery team instead of a development team, trying to get away from that concept that analysis and testing, does not have a role within agile. And I completely will push back on that to my dying breath.
As
Um,
well you should,
that
sir.
I don't believe that at all. I think it makes it even more critical to have those
Yes.
expert skills on your team when you're trying to go faster and everything. Bring things speed to market is one thing that Agile is all about. But the three mindsets, they work from very different perspectives, I work on the why and the what, and the developers and the testers work on the how. How am I going to build this? What is correct? And that they think about implementation and things like that. Testers think about how am I going to test this? How am I going to know that it works correctly in that? Is this complete? What are the edge cases?
Mm.
Things like that. So all working from a very different perspective. And then I bring in the three amigos. And one of the reviewers of this thing says, I don't know what this is talking about, or what's this, why is this different than the team? The concept of the three amigos, and we've done it often in one of our or in many of the teams that I have worked on.
Hmm.
I had a lady that was working with that called one of these three amigo meetings, and she had more than three people, so she called it the Mucho Amigos. Uh, but the idea is to get those three mindsets. That doesn't necessarily mean three people. It means you get a developer, a business analyst, and a tester in a discussion. If you got something that you have to understand, to discover, if you got a question that needs answered, the idea is you don't need the entire team because that costs money.
That's
You can
right.
take a segment of that team that costs a little less money, have them work at it, but to have the three mindsets in the discussion so that, less likely that something is going to be missed or anything because one of those mindsets was missing from the discussion. Then that small team could go back to the whole team and report its discovery or its learnings that it had from the Three Amigos meeting.
There you go.
Pragnia, did you have a question?
I just want to add something in a typical agile Scrum team, at least. My personal experience says that it's always good to have a ratio of 1:2:1 or 1:2:0.5. One business analyst, two developers, 1 or 0.5 tester.
Hmm.
Okay, yeah,
Uh,
typically you do need more developers than testers and business analysts. Team I recently worked with, we were supposed to have three developers, but one moved to another team. We got another one, then he left the company. So it was always a little bit in flux. But at full strength, we would have three developers, two testers, a architect, and the analyst. And then and that is what I call the delivery team, or that would be your development team that has the cross-functional, they have all the skills and resources necessary to deliver the product. That doesn't mean that everybody needs to code. I didn't code, and I didn't do a lot of testing, and I could do it when called upon, but I certainly wouldn't do it as good as our professional testers would do it. Um, yeah, so you do need more developers on the team in that. The Scrum Guide says your Scrum team should be 3 to 9 people. And so, if you put our 7 people I named off, plus the product owner and the Scrum Master, that's 9. That's a pretty big agile team. Um, and that. So, yeah, fully agree with you. You know, for the longest time, we worked with one developer or tester, and then we got a second one on the team, and things could move a little bit faster, um, and that. But uh, yeah, typically I would say one business analyst to probably around 3 developers. I was supporting 3 developers through time and everything.
Mhm.
So, um, you know, um, that works good and on an agile team.
Okay. Thank you, gentlemen. I have to drop now. But thank you
Okay.
so much for your beautiful talk. You are actually motivating me to write a book.
Awesome.
And
Yes,
just
go out
That's
there and write.
great. Yes.
I have been thinking about it for quite some time. I'm not 20 years of
Ah,
experience, purely as business analyst working for clients from US to Europe, many different countries, different
mm,
domains, from waterfall to agile, Scrum, Kanban. So, and different type of projects, whether it's hardware or software. So I think, yeah, I have been thinking about writing something using my experience. Yeah, well, you've motivated me. Thank you
That
for
is
that.
just wonderful, Pragya.
I don't know
I'm
how
sure
to
you'll do
start, to
well.
be honest, but yeah, I think I'm gonna really sit down to it because it's, I think, more of having the determination to start doing it, start somewhere.
yeah.
That's great.
So, start with your framework that you want to work with or an outline, cover what principles or what concepts that you want to put out there that are going to be part of your book, and then build
Mm-hmm,
upon that.
Exactly. Exactly. Build
mm-hmm,
upon it,
mm-hmm.
add your details, add your supporting principles, build it out from there, and maybe even throw in a story or two.
Mm-hmm.
I
Very
do.
good.
It works for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bestseller.
You're too kind. You're too kind. Well, we're
Okay.
sorry
Okay.
you have
Thank.
to go, Pragya, but thank you so much for joining us. And
Yes.
you can probably listen to the recording later, because we've got just a tiny, we got a little bit more that we're going to talk about before we sign off. So be sure to
Okay.
listen to the recording.
Okay, great. Thank you. And will you be sending some certification or some email for the CDUs which I can gain from this, or is
Yes.
there any CDU?
Yes, you will receive that tomorrow.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you so much, and have a
Take
lovely
care.
day.
You
You
too.
Bye
Bye
you
bye.
bye.
like my garden?
And my garden, our garden.
He's on the other side.
That's right.
It stretches from Kentucky to North
The
Carolina.
North Carolina, that's right. I do need to clarify something for everyone else who's watching and listening. The I did want to correct you, but yeah, it is a little confusing because I do have a dual role. My fractionally, Aaron had mentioned that I'm a CTO. I am fractionally chief technology officer for a startup company. My full-time job, I am a senior system specialist. I
That's
did do
right.
business analysis work several years ago, but now I'm a system specialist and the senior system specialist, and I help run a data warehouse. I'm the team leader in uh,
Aaron, here's a
our data
reminder.
warehouse.
Cincinnati Reds game start.
Okay. So, okay. So, Dr. Joe, the final chapter focuses on endurance,
Yes, we
where you
endured all the way to the end of
well,
our
this is
assessment
where
event.
you emphasize building governance that holds up
Hmm.
over time. What does
Yes, sir.
endurance look like for business analysts who are trying to create lasting impact in their organizations?
Well, surely it's more than enduring a long meeting or enduring the perils of scope creep, or those in our audience who endured our author's corner here. Yeah, but yeah, no, endurance is about building systems that stay steady, even when conditions shift. Okay, for BAs. Endurance is going to show up in the way that you design processes that can adapt without losing their integrity. It's the mindset that says, look, rather than just solving the problem for today, we're laying the groundwork to be successful tomorrow as well. Okay. That long view, that mindset, that perception is essential for data governance, Aaron, because the norm is to implement just a short-term fix. Okay. You know what's wrong with that, don't you? Short-term fixes often create long-term complications. You know,
Or
I
rework.
think that's right. I think it was Confucius who said that. No, I'm kidding. He did not say that. Yeah, I'm kidding. Um, I don't know. Maybe Confucius should have said it. Maybe more people would listen to it. I don't know. But anyway, in my book, I draw from examples like the Roman concrete that we mentioned earlier, ancient engineering, models. Okay, they illustrate as a model what happens when foundations are built with intention. Endurance doesn't come by accident, Aaron, right? It's the result of thoughtful design, clear principles, diligent planning, and a willingness to refine over time. You don't get it right on the first try. You keep refining, you keep refining. BAs are trained to go through endurance, documenting decisions, establishing um, um, good practices, ensuring that knowledge doesn't just disappear when people move on. Write it down, folks. Write it down and pass it on if it's the last thing you do. Okay. Um, Endurance also requires humility, I think. Uh, it means acknowledging that systems will evolve, technologies will change, people will move on, organizations will grow, right? The goal isn't so much to freeze governance in place, but to build data governance in a way that it can flex without breaking, like we were talking about earlier with rigor, right?
Yes.
BAs are often the guardians of adaptability, are they not? Right? Um, to help organizations stay grounded while still moving forward. That balance, that model, if you will, is what allows data governance to endure. And that's what allows the data dance to keep on keeping on. That's why I call it a dance, because it's going to keep on. I think it's probably one of the I don't know, one of the best models that I've ever built. So hopefully everybody else will feel the same way. And Aaron, you speaking of models, you've created a few models in your book. Yeah. Let's see. Oh, there's a bunch of them. Let's see. The Agile Planning Horizon model, the Agile Business Analysis, I think something like Core Concept Model. How do you come up with these?
They come from experience,
Yeah.
I lived a lot of that. I will say the Agile Planning Horizons model
Hmm.
is from IIBA. That is in the Agile extension. Um, Changed it a little bit. I changed the graphic because I thought there was more things that needed to be identified as context and um, feedback.
Hmm.
Um, the one thing that IIBA never named the model, they just showed this graphic and they said there's three planning horizons and all of that. I gave it a
Yeah.
name, and
Good.
I changed it a little bit in that IIBA says feedback goes up and down the horizons. I said a better word for the stuff that goes down from strategy to initiative to the delivery
Hmm.
is context. It's
Yes.
not feedback yet. It's why did we fund this product, this initiative to create this product, and that what are the objectives that the organization has for this product? That's context that should go down to the initiative horizon to inform decisions about how we're going to build this, when we're going to build, put each feature on which features will deliver to those objectives faster and
Hmm.
things like that. That's context. I wouldn't call that feedback. Um, but I do still use feedback goes back up. What we learn at delivery while we're delivering this product, if we change the order of features, if we learn that, a feature is going to take longer than what we originally thought,
Right.
if there's something, we don't understand that we got to discover, we have a spike to discover something. Um, that's all feedback going back to the initiative and all the way back to the strategy horizon to inform that of the outcomes of their funding decisions
Hmm.
and everything. So the one thing I did change in thing it's calling context is what goes down, um, from decisions from up above. Um, they go down the planning horizons. And what we learn while delivering this product, that is feedback that goes back up. Um, and that. But the concept of those three planning horizons and feedback going up and down the horizon does come from the Agile extension. I just brought it more up
Yeah.
to date. Like we said, it's 9 years old.
Yeah.
I brought it
Needed to be
more
updated.
up to date. A lot's changed in the last decade. Um, so brought that one up to date. Then IIBA does have a business analyst core concept model.
Hmm.
They do not have an agile business analysis
Hmm.
core concept model. There's not one in the agile extension. It doesn't even have core or underlying competencies for agile business analysis.
Hmm.
So I thought about that and I thought about what do I do and what competencies do I draw upon to do my work and that. And I made a list. And then I decided, how can I categorize these to make them more understandable? And that came up with three
Hmm.
categories that they could be in. And that. And then I drew something, and I didn't want it to look like the Agile or the IIBA
I'd
core
be,
competency
yeah.
model. Really nothing like what IIBA has. I wanted mine to be a little different and
Hmm.
that, but very understandable to the readers and that, and
And it
hopefully
is.
something that we're going to fully agree on.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, Aaron, this this has been an absolutely wonderful conversation. Literally, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart, Aaron. the Bluegrass IIBA chapter and others that create spaces for us. The fact that you gave me the opportunity to find out more about your incredible masterpiece that I hold in my hand. I just love this book, Aaron. I hope everybody else
I can
will
hold
read
yours.
it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You could hold you can hold mine a little bit easier than I can hold yours. There's a little more to hold, but
Oh,
no,
it's not that much larger.
no, not that much larger, but really, I hope that it'll become a bestseller. Writing a book is a long journey, but sharing it with a community like this makes it worthwhile. Listen, business analysts play a vital role in shaping the future of organizations. You all who are watching tonight, y'all are the ones that bring clarity when there's confusion, alignment when there's friction, diligence when there's laziness, insight where there's noise, sanity where there's pandemonium, you name it, right? Serious. My hope is that Aaron's book and mine will give you a framework that's going to support that work, that's going to help you build data governance programs, promote agility in business analysis, and these models that Aaron has come up with in ways that'll endure. The three amigos, the agile planning horizon model. Holy cow, that's worth the price of admission in any ball game. Okay. Hey, serious. I'm grateful for every person who shared my book or shared it or reached out with their reflections. Grateful to God for the opportunities that He's given me to teach, to write, to speak, to meet phenomenal leaders like you, Aaron, who serves this community. If today's conversation has sparked something in you who are watching, curiosity, conviction, greater diligence, craziness, desire, whatever, desire to strengthen your data culture. I really want you to explore Aaron's book and mine. Stay agile, keep the dance going, and listen to what Aaron Whittenberger has to say. That's all I can say about it.
Well,
Serious.
thank you very much. I can't close any better than that. So thank you for those words and everything. Um, I will add appreciation for those that put Amazon customer reviews. If you buy the book and read it, you like it, go and give both
Yes.
books, a 5-star review and tell the world why you liked it. So when you go out and look at Dr. Joe's book, you'll see my review out there.
Yeah, it's the very first one, y'all.
Second, actually, there was one that was
Oh,
already
that's right.
there.
Jerome beat you to the punch. That he sure
Yes, it
did.
was
Yes.
Jerome.
But you're the first
So,
U.S. reviewer. Jerome,
oh, okay.
that's from
Jerome's not
non-U.S. So,
U.S.
so you're the first U.S. reviewer.
So, um, so thank you everybody for joining us this evening. We hope you got a lot out of what these books contain, why they were written and exist in the world. Um, Igniting the Data Dance is available on Amazon for sale. You can just search for Igniting the Data Dance in books, and you'll be able to see it from Dr. Joe Perez. And my book
Please hurry up.
should be available tomorrow. No later than 2 days. It should take them to receive that inventory and get it, marked for sale and everything. I think if you went and looked for Agile Business Analysis, a guide to product thinking and delivery, you wouldn't find the book until, they get inventory and make it sellable. I tried to search on it and didn't come up. Um, but once they do get the inventory and everything, and have it available for sale, you'll be able to search for it, be able to find it on Amazon. And I did take a page out of Dr. Joe's playbook. I noticed he did this with igniting the data dance. The first week it was half price. So for the next week, my book will be half price.
Yes. Worth every penny, my friends.
So go and get
And
it the
more.
first week. If not, it's worth the full price too.
Yes, it is. And
So
more.
thank you for joining us this evening. Appreciate you being here. If you have any questions about the books, you can reach both Dr. Joe and I on LinkedIn, and I'll be glad to answer questions about my book. And I hope you really enjoy it.
As
So
do I.
thank you very much.
Bye, everybody.